Welcome to the NancoVerse podcast. It's the 10th of February 2021, and I would like to begin today's podcast with a beautiful quote by other than Mr. Barack Obama. Yes, the former president of the United States. He said a very beautiful quote about masculinity, which I think a lot of listeners would love to hear. So here's the quote. It says, all of us have to recognize that being a man is first and foremost being a good human. That means being responsible, working hard, being kind, respectful, compassionate. If you're confident about your strength, you don't need to show me by putting somebody else down. Show me you're a man by lifting somebody else up. End quote. That's a beautiful quote, I feel. Especially about all of this conversation about masculinity and a lot of people calling masculinity toxic, toxic masculinity, all of these things. I do believe that that might be true. There is a form of masculinity that can be toxic, where we try and put other people down, where men use their strength to push other people down. However, I feel real masculinity is something to be discovered, something that can help others, and it is a form of power that can be used for uplifting people. So, I really would want myself and every listener to embrace the positive side of masculinity if we can. And I would want to do more research on what it means to be a man because that's who I am. And we need to be our best versions. All right. A beautiful start to the podcast. Let's get into the news straight, baby. Woo! Okay, so the first news item I would want to talk about is straight out of a damn movie. There's this boy, a 23-year-old man, actually, he's a man, he's 23 years old. A 23-year-old person was stuck on a hill for as long as 45 hours. That's almost 2 days. And this man was stuck there, and he had gone out with his friends to do a trek, and the next thing you know is the boy is stuck. His name is R. Babu, and he was perched on a small cavity on the hill in Palakkad district in Kerala. But this is straight out of a movie, dude. I don't know how many of you guys have seen 127 Hours. That's a great movie. I would really highly recommend everybody to watch that movie, 127 Hours. Something on very similar lines. This guy was stuck there, and there's a picture of him sitting on the hill, perched on this cavity, and I mean, you can't see his face, but I can only imagine what he went through. I know I'm giggling a little when I say this because he's safe now, and there's also a beautiful picture. There's one picture where he's stuck, and next to that is a picture where he's embracing the army soldiers, the commanders that saved him. Again, man, what would we do without the Indian Army? A big salute to these guys. Not only do they protect us from terrorists and anti-national activities, but they also help people who get stuck on a mountain. So thank you to the Indian Army. Jai Hind. And this is a story by Sanju Philippe. For 45 hours, 23-year-old trapped on a hill has a state on the edge. Has a state on the edge. Before the details trickled in, the photo summed up the story. Perched precariously on the edge of a small cavity on the side of a hill was a youth, his knees drawn up, despair on his face. After a long pause that lasted 2 nights and a day, there was another photo. This time he was surrounded by local rescuers and army commandos. There were smiles and hugs all around. Quote, thanks to the Indian Army, the youth said in a feeble voice captured on camera. In the 45 hours, damn man, 45 hours being stuck on a mountain. I would not want that for anybody, even my worst enemy. In the 45 hours between these two frames, the story of R. Babu, a 23-year-old newspaper vendor. Oh, newspaper vendors are very important. In Kerala's Palakkad had an entire state on the edge. It was on Monday that Babu and two of his friends started to climb the 1,000 feet high Kurumbachi Hill, near the village of Cheradu in Malapuza. Not a regular or professional trekker, he did not inform his mother and younger brother at home about this climb. Around 2 p.m., while his exhausted friends took a break and squatted on a rock, Babu trekked Babu trekked. Man, this is so insane. Babu trekked up, but while coming back down, he faltered and slid down the steep hillside until he got stuck in the cavity. And so began a survival drama that rivaled any movie script. Babu's distraught friends watched helplessly for a while. He was about 4,000 meters down, way beyond their reach. Then they ran to their village, screaming for help. Within hours, the police, district officials, the fire and rescue team stepped in. Babu had managed to keep his smartphone in the fall and sent his Google location to the rescuers through WhatsApp. He also called his mother Rashida, informing her for the first time about what he had been up to and where he was. Always call your mom. Never not tell your mom, especially if you're going to climb a hill, because she's gonna be extremely scared. And thankfully, there was network there, so he was able to contact her. But a lot of people just go to the mountains, man. The mountains are calling me, bro. I need to go there and all that stuff. And they will not tell their parents and their loved ones and their family, and they get lost there. And I can only imagine the stress. And I say this because I've done this, so please don't do that. Anyway, um, yeah, he was quickly located using a drone, and the rescue team, including local residents, trekked up the hill on Monday night. But they quickly realized that the rescue was far from over. They could not reach near Babu, who shouted out to them and flashed the torch in his phone. As the hours ticked over and campfires were set up to keep wild animals away, the tension mounted as Babu's voice faded. On Tuesday, District Collector Murunmai Joshi and Superintendent of Police R. Vishwanath reached the village. By then, they had called the NDRF. NDRF is the National Disaster Relief Force, yes, which sent a rescue team. The Coast Guard sent a Chetak helicopter, which returned after a few sorties due to bad weather. Meanwhile, the health of Babu, stuck without water or food since Monday noon, became a concern. Local authorities tried to deliver food and water using the available drone, but the machine could not handle the load. By now, the crisis had reached the office of Chief Minister Pa- Pinarayi Vijayan, who called in the army on Tuesday evening. If it was not for the army, I do not think this boy would have been saved. There is no way in hell. Soon, two army officers, two JCOs, and five other personnel reached the spot from Wellington in Tamil Nadu, even as a mountaineering team was ferried by the IAF from Bengaluru to Sulur near Coimbatore, about 2 hours away. The Kerala police soon cleared the road for them to reach Malappuza without delay. Around Tuesday midnight, District Collector Joshi said the army team on Recce was able to talk to Babu. Overnight, a 20-member NDRF team remained on the hill. On Wednesday morning, the rescue teams managed to pass on water. Around 10 a.m., the army mountaineering team, using ropes and climbing gear, reached the cavity. लक्ष्य को हर हाल में पाना है बाबू को हर हाल में बचाना है Damn, man, Indian Army, dude. Thank God. Jai Hind. Around 10 a.m., the army mountaineering team, using ropes and climbing gear, reached the cavity. By 11 a.m., they lifted Babu with safety belts and ropes to the top of the hill, from where a chopper airlifted him to the district hospital. District Medical Officer Dr. R. Ramadevi described the youth's health as satisfactory, but said he was under ICU observation. A defense spokesman said the army had deployed two teams from Parachute Regimental Center in Bangalore and Madras Regimental Center, Wellington, with one team stationed at the base of the hill to coordinate the rescue. Quote, the most difficult part of the rescue was reaching the spot. Babu was trapped around 400 meters down from the top of the rock. Our climbing ropes have a maximum length of 200 meters. Hence, we tied three ropes to reach the youth, who weighs about 80 kg, and lift him up. Starmon R. Pillai, Assistant Commandant of Kerala Police High Altitude Rescue Team, who was part of the mission, said, quote, it is a single rock with a height of 1000 feet to 1500 feet, with a very sharp surface, making climbing very difficult and dangerous. The youth was trapped on the hill around 6 kilometers away from the base village. Due to the hot climate, it was difficult to climb during the day. Everyone in the rescue team had ropes or other equipment weighing 30 kgs to carry. Even the army men took 5 hours to reach the top of the hill. It was sheer luck that Babu got trapped in the cavity. A fall from there would have been fatal. That does seem like something to consider here. That guy is lucky, dude, because he did not fall down from the rock. He actually got trapped in a cavity. So if you ever fall from a mountain, you want to get trapped in a cavity, but at the same time, you also want to have internet so that you can call your mom. This rescue was the wish of a state, the said Chief Minister Vijayan, who thanked the Army, Air Force, and Coast Guard. By late Wednesday, Babu's mother, who had been waiting below the hill for day and night, stepped up to thank all who struggled to get my son back. Quote, he did not inform me about this journey, and I was so tense after I could not contact him on his phone. This incident should be a lesson for all, Rashida said. Listen to Rashida, bro. Always tell your mom if you're going to climb a hill. Don't be cool. Don't try and act smart. Always call your mom. And your mom will tell you not to go, but sometimes as a 23-year-old or as an adult, you have to do what you gotta do, man, and get stuck in a cavity and call the army and make a big spectacle out of yourself. But I'm happy that the guy is alive and he's doing okay, and something out of a movie script came out of this entire story. Very interesting. So there's been an update. Moving on, there's been an update on the Chinar Corps Instagram handle and Facebook handle being taken down, which was blocked for 10 days. The update is that I think, yeah, the update is blocked for 10 days. The Instagram account of the Indian Army Srinagar-based 15 Corps, also known as Chinar Corps, was restored on Wednesday morning. The Facebook handle of the Corps, however, continues to remain blocked, but is expected to be restored soon. Facebook, anyway, is just a dummy land, at least if you ask me. But yeah, they're always too slow. Facebook is weird. I don't know. Instagram got its thing together. Not that they're like owned by different people, but yeah, that's a good update that at least the Instagram handle is back, and yeah, this coordinated campaign against the Indian Army pages is actually quite concerning. But at the same time, I think they can handle these things because they're the damn Indian Army, man. Officials believe both the accounts of the Chinar Corps were barred on January 28 because of a coordinated campaign. While there were no specific posts that Facebook or Instagram had objected to in their communication, both had mentioned that the accounts were in violation of, quote, coordinated inauthentic behavior. Okay, if here's the thing. If Facebook or Instagram ever again tells the army that they were inauthentic, I think we all need to leave. We all need to leave and go to coup, man. Like, what the hell? Coup is that Indian social media app, by the way, not the military coup or something. Yeah, but this is stupid. Coordinated inauthentic behavior by the Indian army. That is one of the most dumbest things I've heard in my life. Facebook and Instagram, you need to get your shies together. Anyway, the companies define inauthentic behavior as, quote, the use of Facebook or Instagram assets to mislead people. Hmm. However, officials said the army wrote to both the companies and stated why the two accounts had not violated any of those terms. Instagram and Facebook are owned by the same company, Meta Platforms. The Facebook handle Chinar Corps IA had over 24,000 followers and over 23,000 likes, and was even tagged as a government organization. The Instagram account had around 43,300 followers and was named Chinar Corps IA. There were 2,619 posts on the handle. It clearly identified itself, saying, quote, welcome to the official account of Chinar Corps, Indian Army. It's a good sign that the Instagram account is back, but the Facebook is still down, and the specifics are not even that necessary because the overall phenomena needs to be understood. This happened somewhere around the Republic Day celebrations, and there are a lot of factors. There are a lot of people, I would say, organizations that might be in the country or outside the country that are not big fans of the Indian Army, and they want to take them down and they want to attack them in whatever way they can. Obviously, they can't do them face to face because the Indian Army is, dude, we all know the Indian Army is the damn best force in the world. Um, But at the same time, they can do this. They can report on social media and take a page down. But this information warfare, I feel, is nowhere. It's not ending anytime soon, and it's a shame that we're dependent so much on these platforms that do not originate from our nation. I wasn't kidding when I was saying that maybe it's not a bad move for some Indian social media company to become a little more mainstream, so that at least these things don't happen to the Indian accounts. And at the same time, I feel censorship is always an issue. But yeah, I hope Facebook gets its act together and restores the Indian Army account ASAP. Do it, bug. Do it, Mark Zuckerberg. Come on, bro. What you doing, man? Building your freaking metaverse and forgetting about the Indian Army? Don't do that, bro. Don't mess with the Indian Army. Come on. Moving on to a piece of news which I feel is of immense national importance. And it's actually quite goosebumpy. When I read this, it just makes me squirm a little. It's very sad, and I see this around me. I see this in the youth. I see this in people who are feeling not that good because of the years of pandemic that we have had, and people have lost money, people have lost their incomes, people have lost jobs. Life is anyway quite difficult, but it has been become more difficult ever since the advent of the pandemic. And now that we are starting to see a little bit of recovery, I really hope and pray that people are able to get their incomes back up. But this is a statement by the government in Rajya Sabha, and it has to be taken for what it is. It says suicides among unemployed crossed 3,000 in 2020, COVID year. 3,000 people killed themselves in 2020. Over 3,000 people killed themselves in 2020, and they were unemployed. So this is actually quite sad. That's like more than 10 a day. Yeah, that's like almost more than 10 a day. This is a story by Deeptiman Tiwari, and it goes: the first pandemic year, 2020, saw the highest number of suicides among the unemployed in the recent past, with the toll crossing the 3,000 mark for the first time, according to National Crime Records Bureau (NCRB) data. Citing NCRB data, the Minister of State for Home, Nityanand Rai, said in a written reply in Rajya Sabha on Wednesday that 3,548 people died by suicide due to unemployment in 2020. Before I read further on, I feel like at least it's a good sign that the government is being holding itself accountable and giving this data out into the public. So I want to at least appreciate the government for doing this and putting the number out there for everyone to see and read. But it is actually quite sad. The total number of suicides that year was 1.53 lakh, up from 1.39 lakh in 2019. In his reply, Rai also said that between 2018 and 2020, 16,091 died by suicide due to bankruptcy or indebtedness. So that's in 2 years. In 2 years, 16,091 people killed themselves due to bankruptcy or indebtedness. 4,970 in 2018, 5,908 in 2019, and 5,213 in 2020. According to NCRB data, the highest number of suicides among unemployed in 2020 was reported from Karnataka, 720, followed by Maharashtra, 625, Tamil Nadu, 336, Assam, 234, and Uttar Pradesh, 227. In suicides due to bankruptcy or indebtedness, Maharashtra, which reports the highest number of farmer suicides each year, topped the list in 2020 with 1,341 deaths. Maharashtra tops the number of agriculture like farmer suicides, which is so sad. Deaths, followed by Karnataka 1,025, Telangana 947, Andhra Pradesh 782, and Tamil Nadu 524. Barring Tamil Nadu, the other states usually account for the most farmer suicides. According to NCRB data, suicides among the unemployed has been increasing over the last few years. The toll was to 2,851 in 2019, 2,741 in 2018, 2,404 in 2017, 2,298 in 2016, 2,723 in 2015. So the only year it was higher in all these other years was in 2015, and 2,207 in 2014. The total number of suicides among the unemployed during the BJP led government at the center was 18,772, an average of 2,681 deaths per year. In the last 7 years of the UPA government, the number stood at 15,322, 2,090 in 2013, 1,731 in 12, 2,333 in 2011, 2022 in 2010, 2,472 in 2009, 2018, 2008, 2,394 in 2007, at an average of 2,188 deaths per year. In the ongoing budget session, the issue of unemployment has been raised multiple times by opposition MPs, who have alleged that the budget has not dealt with the issue. In his speech in Lok Sabha last week, Congress leader Rahul Gandhi said the country was facing the highest unemployment in the past 50 years. Rai said the government was looking to address the issue by focusing on mental health and creating employment opportunities. Quote, to address the burden of mental disorders, the government is implementing the National Mental Health Program (NMHP) and is supporting implementation of the District Mental Health Program under NMHP in 692 districts of the country. Rai said the government had launched a number of programs for employment and income generation through the Atmanirbhar Bharat Rozgar Yojana, National Career Service project for job seekers and employers for job matching, Prime Minister's Employment Generation Program, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyaya Gramin Kaushalya Yojana, Deen Dayal Antyodaya Yojana, National Urban Livelihoods Mission, and Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana with substantial outlays. He said the production linked incentive scheme in key sectors for enhancing India's manufacturing capabilities and export would also generate employment opportunities. Earlier this week, Congress leader Shashi Tharoor told Lok Sabha that India's unemployment rate has grown faster than Bangladesh and Vietnam. The unemployment issue is quite concerning, and hopefully there is there is a downward trend in the coming times, and more people get jobs, get quality jobs, and are able to not only fend for themselves but also fend for their own families. Because I feel a lot of times when people take their own lives because of unemployment, it is because of the fact that they are not able to just get by in a society which is becoming more and more expensive by the day. Inflation is a very, very real factor. Incomes are not rising as fast as the inflation. Young people are not able to go to college. They're not able to go outside. They're not able to attend school. They're not able to earn. The amount of pressure they must be feeling at home, just being inside, cooped up, maintaining social distancing all this while, and just trying to get by, to be honest, man. Like, we need money. People need money to get by. And if you don't have money, it takes a hit on your self-respect, dignity. Employment creates dignity for people. Employment creates opportunities, and it gives the freedom to be able to take decisions for your future. And I really hope that there is a resolution to this problem and unemployment in this country begins to decline as we move on to a more normal life around us. Yes. And a question that needs to be addressed is as to why youth unemployment even matters. Even though the answer for this could be very straightforward, but there's a very beautiful write-up that I found. It talks about how in the recently released Global Risks report, the World Economic Forum pointed out, quote, widespread youth disillusionment as one of the main risks for India. Widespread youth disillusionment. That sounds really scary. By widespread youth disillusionment, World Economic Forum refers to, quote, youth disengagement lack of confidence, and or loss of trust of existing economic, political, and social structures at a global scale, negatively impacting sociability, individual well being, and economic productivity. Scenes of young people demanding jobs in UP, the most populous state in India, are a pointer that unemployment may well be a key deciding factor for many voters, especially the young, the educated, and women. Unemployment is not evenly distributed across the population. Data from the Center of Monitoring Indian Economy (CMIE) shows that unemployment in India is highest among the youth, rises with educational attainment, and is higher among women. This second point is actually quite interesting. The rises with educational attainment. So the more education you get, the higher chances there are that you'll be unemployed, because I mean, we'll have to use a little bit of common sense to declutter this entire this statement, because imagine you've done your masters, you've done your PhD, and you're not able to get a job in whatever you've studied. Like, it's yesterday I was reading about how a man was about to set himself on fire because he's doing his MA in Buddhist studies, and I mean, as much as I would want that person to be employed in research of Buddhist studies, it's a very sad fact that not many jobs are revolving around Buddhist studies. And even though I do not like saying what I'm saying right now, but it's just a fact. Like, studying Buddhist studies is not gonna lead that entire. Say if there are 50 people reading Buddhist studies in his class, how many of them are able to get a job around that same thing? And there's a very high possibility that this man is studying Buddhist studies because he is interested in Buddhism. He wants to know more about it, and he wants to research, maybe become an archaeologist, and go to places and try and research more about Buddhism. But it's just a sad fact that in this country the opportunities are so low that that person is most probably not going to be able to find something around Buddhist studies. Even though I really, really hope that this changes. And yeah, moving on to another story about geomagnetic storms that killed Starlink satellites. Yeah, what is a geomagnetic storm? Very interesting. Elon Musk's Starlink has lost dozens of satellites that were caught in a geomagnetic storm a day after they were launched on February 3rd. Up to 40 of the 49 satellites were impacted, Starlink said, causing them to fall from the orbit before they could be recommissioned. Damn. Quote, Rocket Falcon 9's second stage deployed the satellites into their intended orbit, with a perigee of approximately 210 kilometers above Earth, and each satellite achieved control flight. Unfortunately, the satellites deployed on Thursday were significantly impacted by a geomagnetic storm on February 4th, Starlink said in a statement on Tuesday. The satellites were designed to burn up on re entry into Earth's atmosphere and did not create debris in space. However, the loss of 40 satellites, most of a launch batch, in a single solar event has been described as, quote, unheard of and huge. Solar storms flares. Solar flares. Man, these are going to be the end of humanity, I feel. We take these things for granted, like, oh, let's just launch a satellite into orbit and, watch our television. But there are things like solar storms out there. Solar storms are magnetic plasma ejected at great speed from the solar surface. They occur during the release of magnetic energy associated with sunspots. Quote, dark regions of the sun that are sunspots are dark regions of the sun that are cooler than the surrounding photosphere and can last for a few minutes or hours. The solar storm that deorbited the satellites occurred on February 1 and 2, and its powerful trails were observed on February 3rd. Quote, the emerging data suggests that the passing of the later part of the storm, with its high density core, possessed speeds higher than what was recorded during the storm's arrival, something we did not expect, said physicist Professor Debendu Nandi, head of the Center of Excellence in Space Sciences India, CESSI, at the Indian Institute of Science Education and Research, Kolkata. The storm was unusual, unexpectedly massive, and of a kind not seen in recent past, Professor Nandi said. Effect on Earth. Not all solar flares reach Earth, but solar flares slash storms, solar energetic particles, SEPs, high speed solar winds, and coronal mass ejections that come close can impact space weather in near Earth space and upper atmosphere. Solar storms can hit operations of space dependent services like global positioning systems, radio, and satellite communications. Geomagnetic storms interfere with high frequency radio communications and GPS navigation systems. Aircraft flights, power grids, and space exploration programs are vulnerable. CMEs, which are coronal mass ejections, which eject with ejectiles loaded with matter traveling at millions of miles an hour, can potentially create disturbances in the magnetosphere, the protective shield surrounding the Earth. Astronauts on spacewalks face health risks from possible exposure to solar radiation outside the Earth's protective atmosphere. Man, Jeff Bezos, look out, bro. Predicting solar storms. Solar physicists and other scientists use computer models to predict solar storms and solar activities in general. The February 1 to 2 phenomena that knocked out Starlink satellites was predicted on January 29. That's actually quite cool. Quote, current models are capable of, of predicting a storm's time of arrival and its speed, but the storm structure or orientation still cannot be predicted. Quote, current models are capable of predicting a storm's time of arrival and its speed, but the storm structure or orientation still cannot be predicted, Professor Nandi said. Certain orientations of magnetic field can produce a more intense response from the magnetosphere and trigger more intense magnetic storms. With the increasing global dependence on satellites for almost every activity, there is a need for better space forecast and more effective ways to protect satellites. We need to do this as a humanity, otherwise, we are doomed. Alright, moving on to a piece of news which is actually quite serious on a constitutional and political level, but it really cracks me up. The Chief Minister of West Bengal, Mamata Banerjee, blocked Governor Jagdeep Dhankar on Twitter. So, a Chief Minister of a state had to block a governor of the state, saying that she was forced to do so because of his unethical and unconstitutional statements and accused him of treating government officials like his servants. Dhankar responded with a series of tweets on the essence and spirit of democracy and saying the CM's move was against constitutional norms. I mean, I do not know if it was against constitutional norms or not, but Dhankar definitely seems burnt. Because, bro, we all know what it feels like to get blocked by a girl, man. Days earlier, okay, this is funny. This is funny, alright. I mean, no matter how serious this might seem, but a chief minister had to block a governor, and I think that's hilarious. Days earlier, the Tamil Nadu government had taken exception to Governor R.N. Ravi's Republic Day speech articulating the benefits of NEET, the medical entrance exam. Tamil Nadu has passed a bill to exempt the state from NEET. Ravi has sent it back to the state. These are two of the many examples of bitterness between states and governors. What are the governor's powers, friction with states, and why this happens so often? It's actually quite a conundrum in the constitution. We have a governor and we have a chief minister. Governor has their own powers and the chief minister has their own powers. And a lot of time there's a lot of friction between the two. The governor is appointed by the central government mostly, and the chief minister is elected by the people. What is a law on governor state relations? Although envisaged as an apolitical head, okay, I'll repeat this. What is the law on governor state relations? Although envisaged as an apolitical head who must act on the advice of the Council of Ministers, the governor enjoys certain powers granted under the Constitution, such as giving or withholding assent to a bill passed by the state legislature, or determining the time needed for a party to prove its majority, or which party must be called first to do so, generally after a hung verdict in an election. There are, however, no provisions laid down for the manner in which the governor and the state must engage publicly when there is a difference of opinion. The management of differences has traditionally been guided by respect for each other's boundaries. What have been the friction points? In recent years, these have been largely about the selection of the party to form a government, deadline for proving majority, sitting on bills, and passing negative remarks on the state administration. In November 2018, then JNK Governor Satyapal Malik dissolved the assembly amid indications that various parties were coming together to form the government. This paved the way for the centre to later bifurcate the state into two union territories by considering the governor as the government. In November 2019, after a hung verdict in Maharashtra, Governor Bhagat Singh Koshyari quietly invited BJP leader Devendra Fadnavis and administered him oath as CM. This government lasted just 80 hours. 6 months later, Koshyari refused to nominate CM Uddhav Thackeray to the Legislative Council, leading Thackeray to meet PM Narendra Modi to resolve the issue. In West Bengal, Dhankar has often commented on law and order and political violence. Ravi, in his previous stint as Nagaland governor, had criticized affairs of the state and allegedly interfered in administration. In December 2020, Kerala Governor Arif Mohammed Khan turned down a request to summon a special sitting of the assembly to debate the three central farm laws. Following the Karnataka polls in 2018, Governor Vajubhai Wala invited the BJP to form the government and gave B.S. Yedurappa 15 days to prove majority. Challenged by Congress and JDS in the Supreme Court, it was reduced to 3 days. Is such friction recent? Allegations of the centre using the governor's position to destabilize the state governments, have been made since the 1950s. In 1959, Kerala's EMS Nambudiripad government was dismissed based on report by the governor. Several state governments have been dismissed since then, including 63 through President's rule orders issued by governors between 1971 and 1990. These have included Birendra Singh's government in Haryana, Virendra Patil government in Karnataka, M. Karunanidhi government in Tamil Nadu, B.S. Shekhawat government in Rajasthan, and SAD government in Punjab in 1980. Janata Party governments in UP, Odisha, Gujarat, and Bihar, N.T. Rama Rao government in Andhra in 1984, and Kalyan Singh governments in UP 1992 and 1998. These became less frequent during the coalition era at the center and the emergence of strong regional parties. But why does this happen? Because governors have become political appointees, said Nalsar Chancellor and constitutional expert Faizan Mustafa. Quote, the Constituent Assembly envisaged governor to be apolitical, but politicians become governors and then resign to fight elections. Constitutional expert Alok Prasanna of Vidhi Center for Legal Policy said, the CM is answerable to the people, but the governor is answerable to no one except the center. You can sugarcoat it with ideas of constitutional morality and values, but the truth is there is a fundamental defect in the constitution. There is no provision for impeaching the governor, who is appointed by the president on the center's advice. While the governor has a 5 year tenure, he can remain in office only until pleasure of the president. In 2001, the National Commission to Review the Working of Constitution, headed by retired CGI M.N. Venkachalya, had set up by the Atal Bihari Vajpayee, said, because the governor owes his appointment and his continuation in the office to the Union Council of Ministers in matters where the central government and the state government do not see eye to eye, there is the apprehension that he is likely to act in accordance with the instructions, if any, received from the Union Council of Ministers. Indeed, the governors today are being pejoratively called the agents of the center. In the Constitution, there are no guidelines for exercise of the governor's powers, including for appointing a CM or dissolving the assembly. In the Constitution, there are no guidelines for exercise of the governor's powers, including for appointing a CM or dissolving the assembly. There is no limit set for how long a governor can withhold assent to a bill. What reforms have been suggested? From the Administrative Reforms Commission of 1968 to Sarkaria Commission of 1988 and the one mentioned above, several panels have recommended reforms such as selection of the governor through a panel comprising PM, Home Minister, Lok Sabha Speaker and CM, apart from fixing his tenure for 5 years. Recommendations have also been made for provision to impeach the governor by assembly. No government has implemented any of these recommendations. Moving on, there's another very interesting piece in the newspaper that talks about the shift in mobility trends with focus on electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles. India is seeing a shift in mobility trends, with more and more consumers expressing interest in electrified and hybrid vehicles, as per a Deloitte study. More than 33% of Indian consumers interested in electrified and hybrid vehicles, as the segment sets theme with India's focus on environment friendly, self manufactured, and sustainable solutions. 59% concerned about climate change, pollution levels, and gasoline diesel vehicles emissions. And 69% are interested in pre owned vehicles. That's actually quite interesting. I, for myself, would be very interested in getting an electric vehicle, and that's one of the reasons I still haven't bought a vehicle. But I don't know how easy is it to charge a vehicle, even though Delhi has its own electric vehicle policy, but I don't see an electric charging station around my house. I would want to know your thoughts on this. What kind of a car would you want to buy in today's time? Are you thinking about the emissions of your car? Are you concerned about climate change? Are you concerned about the pollution levels? Is it something that is the fuel of your car something that interests you? Is that a factor? Is something that I'm interested in knowing. Another very interesting news article is about the drone import banning by the government. The government of India has banned the import of drones other than for defense, security, and research purposes. The aim is to promote made in India drones, according to a notification by the Directorate General of Foreign Trade. The ban will not apply to the imports of drone parts. The government has taken a series of steps to boost domestic manufacturing of drones and drone components, including announcing a rupee 120 crore production linked incentive scheme and liberalizing drone operation rules. Quote, import policy for drones in CBU completely built up, CKD completely knocked down, SKD semi knocked down form is prohibited with exceptions provided for R&D, defense and security purposes. The DGFT, Director General for Foreign Trade, said. Even the import of drones for these purposes will require government clearances. The new drone rules 2021 reduce appliances and fee required to be paid to operate drones. The Civil Aviation Ministry also launched an airspace map of India, demarcating areas where drones can be used without permission and areas in which drones cannot be operated without obtaining prior permissions from authorities. So, all of my buddies who like to fly drones, do check out the airspace map of India where you can see where you can fly your drones without permission and where you need to get a permission. Otherwise, you'd be prosecuted, bro. And with this, I would like to put an end to today's episode of the NancoVerse podcast. I really, really hope that you guys enjoyed listening to the podcast. I'm trying to get better with them as I do them more often, and I can feel a little bit of a improvement in my reading abilities, but at the same time, I know I need to do better. If there is something that you guys would want to share with me, please do feel free to hit it on the comment section. Please do subscribe to the Nancoverse channel, to the Naman Datta YouTube channel. The subscribe button would be there somewhere, man. Come on, keep your eyes open. And I hope you guys have a great, great, great life ahead. Stay hydrated, stay happy, and give hugs. Hugs are important. We need to express our loves to the people. We need to express our love to the people around us, and we also need to make sure that we are able to have the good energy that we need to pursue all of the goals that we need to pursue. So, signing out of the NancoVerse podcast, I wish you guys a great life ahead and stay tuned for the next one. Peace out.